The idea gave them a new boost in their step. They finally reached the thornbush pit and stopped dead in their tracks. It was a frightening sight. It was extremely wide and incredibly deep, and filled to the top with plants, some dead and some alive. The vines and the thorn bushes moved around like thousands of snakes. The pit was alive and hungry. Ruins of an old castle sat on the edge of the pit, consisting of nothing but a few walls and a stony staircase that led to nowhere. "We're actually going in there?" Connor said. "Let's put on our shells," Alex said. They each tied a shell necklace around their necks and slowly walked to the edge of the pit. The vines and thorn bush shot straight toward them like a frog's tongue to a fly, but then jolted back, repelled by the magic shells. "Looks like they work," Connor said. They began to climb down into the pit. They used the dead thorn bush on the side of the pit as a ladder, scratching themselves and drawing blood on different parts of their bodies every few feet. The thorn bush and vines that were alive moved away from the twins as they passed. They watched them like huge serpents, ready to strike at any second. Alex and Connor climbed as low as they could go. The pit floor was covered in rubbish like a giant junkyard. The smell was unbearable, and the twins had to cover their noses as they searched. "Whoa," Connor said. "This is like a massive trash bin." "Can you imagine all the secrets we could discover just by going through this place?" "Remember what we're here for," Alex said, and then suddenly screamed. "What is it?" Connor asked. She had almost stepped on the hand of a skeleton. "Who is that?" Connor said. Or should I say, who was that? "I don't want to know," said Alex, shaken up by the discovery. "I've never seen a skeleton before." It was only the first of dozens. There were skeletons and parts of skeletons everywhere. Each one was harder to look at than the one before. Some had been down here longer than others. Alex had to take deep breaths to prevent herself from getting sick. They found countless knives and daggers and swords scattered across the pit. "Is this it?" Connor asked, holding up one for his sister to see. "No, that's wooden," Alex said. "What about this?" he asked, holding up another. "No, that's made of steel," Alex said. "Remember, it was made in the ocean." "Oh," Connor said, "like this." He held up a knife that matched his sister's description perfectly. It had a curved handle that was made of coral and bits of shell, and a long blade made of bright sea glass. "That has to be it," Alex said gleefully. "Connor, we did it. We found the last wishing spell item." She gave her brother a huge bear hug and kissed him on the cheek. They were so incredibly happy. Tears formed in their eyes. They were going home. "Let's get out of this pit as fast as possible," Connor said. "It gives me the creeps." The twins went back to the dead thorn bush and began climbing up the side of the pit. When they were about 2/3 of the way up, a branch caught hold of Connor's necklace and ripped it off his neck. As if it were happening in slow motion, Connor saw the shell begin to fall from him toward the bottom of the pit. He reached for it, but it was too late. It was gone. The shell hit the bottom of the pit floor and shattered. Alex and Connor looked down at the broken shell and then looked at each other with the same horrified expression. "Oops," Connor whispered. The living vines and thornbush vibrated with excitement. The shells were useless now. Vines began shooting toward the twins. "We've got to get out of here," Alex yelled, and the twins rushed up the side of the pit faster than they had ever climbed anything before. Their fingertips were just about to reach the top of the pit when vines wrapped themselves around Alex's and Connor's feet and dragged them downward. Connor stabbed the saber into the ground outside the mouth of the pit, and he and his sister held on to it while they were being pulled, determined not to end up like the other victims of the vines. More vines wrapped themselves around the twins, increasing the fight. Alex and Connor were nearly completely covered in plants. Alex lost her grip around the knife and began to fall back into the pit. but Connor grabbed hold of her just in time. He couldn't hold on to both for much longer. One by one, his fingers began slipping from the knife's handle. Connor's hand lost its grip on the knife, and he and his sister were both dragged away. But right as his hand slipped away, he felt a cold, clammy hand grab onto his and try to pull him and his sister out of the pit. It was a struggle. The plants weren't giving up. Alex and Connor felt like the rope in a game of tug of war. "Darn, you miserable plants," said a very proper voice that the twins recognized. "Let them go, you overly advanced shrubbery." With one final tug, most of the vines broke, and Alex and Connor were saved. Their momentum piled them on top of whoever had just saved them. "Froggy," Alex declared, and gave their old friend a tremendous embrace. "It's you," Connor said, although he had trouble shaking Froggy's hand when they had first met. Connor was now hugging him like he was a long-lost relative. Hello, Connor," Alex, Froggy said. He was almost suffocated by their affection. "You saved our lives," Alex said. "How did you know we were here?" Connor asked. Froggy got to his feet, straightened the tie of his suit, and helped the twins up. I've been looking for you two for days," Froggy said. "The amount of ground you've covered is remarkable. Thank goodness I crossed paths with those mermaids, or I would have never found you."